Hi, this is Kat from Dollface Factory. I just wanted to introduce the tutorial you're about to watch. It's the Smokey Eye tutorial. As you can tell, this is the finished product. A little history behind what motivated me to do this for all of you guys today is that a couple of weeks ago I was getting married, and my husband and I had a very non-traditional wedding to which we wanted our guests to dress like they were going to a club because that was the atmosphere that the wedding took place in. A bunch of my friends started texting me and emailing me, because they're not in the industry, about how they had bought all of these palettes to do a smoky eye and they had no idea how to use them, even though their intent was very good. And they were willing to put in the effort, but it was kind of intimidating for them. And it made me laugh a little bit, but then I also thought I'd have a lot of fun with it. So I ended up bringing in my own smoky palettes to work and teaching the girls during lunch how to do the smoky eye. And it was a lot of fun, and I thought it would be a lot of fun to bring to you, because I don't think that it's something to be intimidated by. I think it's something to be taken and played with and have a lot of fun with it. As I like to refer to the smoky eye, it's kind of like a kiss. Some kisses and smoky eyes are meant just for the bedroom because they're very dramatic and very over the top. But then other ones are okay for public, and some of them are even okay for church. So I hope you have fun with this tutorial. I hope you learn a lot, and I hope you share what you learn, because that's what it's about. It's about everybody feeling good. Well, before we start the process, I'm just going to go through a couple of the materials and the brushes that you will need in order to achieve the smoky eye look. It's a pretty easy look to achieve once you get it down, so I don't want anybody to be intimidated by it. I usually use 4 different brushes, sometimes 2, but the ones I like to use most is I'll use a puffy brush, and this will be used to cover with the base cover, which is the lightest color, from the eyelash area to the brow, as you'll see as I show you later. I also will use this same brush to do the medium color from the eyelash area just to where the eyelid stops. So not up to the brow, but just where the eyelid stops, which is where your crease actually is. You'll get more used to these words as I use them often. And the brush that's used to do most of the smoking is more of a short, poofy brush. I have a pretty big eye cavity, so I can use a bigger brush like this. I advise that if you have smaller eyes, you can use a smaller brush, as long as it still has that poof. They usually call this like a pencil tip brush, a small dome brush, a smoking brush, a crease brush. You'll hear it called by many different things, and this is just another option of the same. So since my eyes are big, I usually use the bigger one. If your eyes are a little small, don't be afraid to move to the smaller one. You'll just have to do a bunch of more strokes to cover a little more, so it's not a big deal. Next, we have your eyeshadow base, which I like to use Stay Don't Stray by Benefit. I know that Urban Decay also has a great one. This is what goes on first to hold your eyeshadow longer, to make it last so it doesn't crease and things like that. I also have a pencil eyeliner in black or coal. And I also have a liquid eyeliner, because I like the way that the liquid looks on top, and I like the way that the pencil looks on the bottom, because I like a straighter line on top and I like a more smudged line on the bottom. Mascara, under eye concealer, which I use every day, and then a light lip liner of your choice, and whatever you usually do for a foundation. And then, of course, the most important thing would be what you're going to use to smoke. I like to buy palettes myself, but I also like buying smaller palettes that are more concentrated in color groupings. I know they're very popular now in drugstores, as well as in Sephora, as well as in MAC and things like that. This is Urban Decay's Naked Palette. You'll hear me talk about this often. It's my favorite because it has things from virgin to half-baked to gunmetal, which when I smoke, I use the 2 farthest on the light, and I also use the 2 farthest on the dark. But I've also been known to smoke in the middle with the browns. So let's get started. Here we go. I'm going to start with just putting a little bit of the concealer, or the primer. This is an eyeshadow primer, it's also called, on my eyelid. So I'll just tap a little here, and then I'll get in there with my finger, spread it out. What I like about primer is, especially if you have a little bit of oily skin, It will dry that skin right up, but not make it dry enough to be itchy or anything like that. It just makes it uniform, so that whatever you put on there will be uniform and will be to its true color, instead of being mixed with the oils from the glands on your face. Okay, then I'm going to open up my palette. I'm going to go to the Virgin color, which of course we all are. And I'm going to take that and I'm going to cover that from my I'm going to use that from my eyelash line to the brow. And don't be afraid to get a little messy with this, because of course we're putting on our eyeshadow before we put on any of our foundation. So that'll clean that up later. I just mess it all up over here, all around. The lightest color that you're using today for smoking should be only 1 or 2 shades lighter than your own skin tone. Little shimmer, if you like shimmer, or you could also use a matte. What I like about smoking, as what I like about makeup in general, is there are slight rules, but don't be afraid to bend them. Just like life. Okay? Then I'm going to use the second color, which is slightly darker. Sometimes I like to use something with a gray or a pink. This is Sin, and it has a slightly pink color, but it also has a lot of metallic fragments in it. It looks really nice and light. Now I'm going to use that same brush, because there's no need to use or clean more brushes than you need. From the lash line, once again, just to where the crease is. I also like to get some in over here, in the waterline. Well, not the waterline, where the tear duct is. I like to get some in there, because I like the way that it sparkles in the corners of my eyes. I think it is a more youthful look, and I think it just looks pretty when the light reflects it. Okay, now we're going to go in for the smoking. A lot of times I find that people are very, very afraid of the smoky eye look because they think that it's only for night. The one that I have on right now on this eye is more of a nighttime look. It is heavier. I use the grays, I use the silvers, and I also use black on top of it. I'm going to show as I start to smoke when you could stop if you want to, when you can make it a daytime smoky look. I wear smoky look to work all the time. I like the dramatic look of it, and I alter it for my own purposes as for what I think is appropriate, and I'm sure you can too. So, take my domed brush. I dip it in some of Gunmetal, which is the silvery, sparkly color up here on the Naked palette. And I'm just going to start to tap it over here into the crease and work my way towards the inner eye. Always start at the outer eye. It's the largest surface area for you to be working in the crease, and it'll usually end up being partially the darkest area. So, you're just going to go in here, start circling in a circling motion towards the eye. A mistake that people fall into a lot when they're doing a smoky eye is that they don't play with it enough. A lot of people think that eyeshadow is just wiping it and wiping it. But if you see that when you smudge it, look at the different effect that it'll give you. And then you'll begin to not be so afraid of it. Now, don't be afraid to use other colors when you smoke too. I smoke in greens, I'll smoke in reds if I'm going for something really Halloween-y, or I'll smoke in browns for something more subtle. So as you see, you can already see that the smoky eye is taking place. I tend to go a little bit above the crease, but not too much, just slightly, especially if you have a deep crease like I do. You don't want so much color to get lost in the crease that you kind of lose the rest of your look, okay? Here we go. So now if I was going to go and wear this smoky eye to work, this would probably be it. I would put an eyeliner on, maybe I'd put a lash on, and I'd put some mascara on, and I'd be ready to go. But since we're going for the more dramatic look, we'll just keep going. Smoky, smoky. I'm going to dip into Creep, which is the sparkly black color. You could also use a matte color. Just a little bit more. And I'm going to go in with the black to make it even more dramatic. Now, if you see an area where you've applied too much, because I have an area where I applied too much, don't be afraid to go in with either the brush that has the lightest color that you used or a blank brush, which I'll refer to as a clean brush, a brush with no shadow on it whatsoever, and just start taking some of it away. There's no need to go through and wash your whole face just to fix your eye. If you need to put some more of a neutral shade on top of it, or the lightest shade, perfectly fine. Okay? Now I just want to see that I'm matching this eye. Make sure you have some fun with it. You'll see that the more that you do it, the faster you'll become in it. And the more people will ask you how you've done it. And then you'll be able to show them. I've been known to do a little lunchtime smoky eye on my friends at work. And everybody likes it. Okay? So, now that I've smoked it a little bit, I'm going to take a look, see if I need to do some more. Make sure the shape of it matches the shape of the other eye. I like to go for a slightly rounded shape. You can go for a longer shape, depending on what kind of look that you want. Don't be afraid to play. This is supposed to make you feel good. It's not supposed to be something that you fear. Okay? Don't be afraid to put a little of the gunmetal on top. If you see an area that you don't like how dark it has become, don't be afraid to go back into the lighter colors to lighten some spots up. I'm also going to show you something else that I kind of like to do. This is a NYX Jumbo Eye Pencil. This color is Cottage Cheese. I know it sounds disgusting. I thought it was disgusting too. That's why I bought it. And I like to use it to add highlight to any area that I feel needs a little bit of extra shine. So I'll go in and I'll dab it on the inner corner of my eye. And I'll dab it over my brow. Just because I like the way that the light hits underneath my brow where my brow bone is. I actually think that that's it's an eye-catching area, and because it's a very expressive area, and you'll be surprised at how many people notice how expressive you are once you've done something like that to bring their eye to it. Now, I want to go in and smoke underneath my eyelashes. This is an area where I'll smoke if I'm really looking for a very dramatic look. There'll be times when I don't at all, and I'll just leave it like this. And then there'll be times where I go in with a brush, dipped in either the gray or the black, and I will just brush it underneath the lash line, like so. Now, I advise that if you have smaller eyes, you don't go all the way to the inner corner, but you stay maybe halfway, usually where your lashes will stop. If you look closely. That's one thing makeup does. It makes you look at yourself closely. Which is good. You begin to appreciate parts that you knew you should have been appreciating the whole time. So, and just line it underneath your eye with a little bit of eyeshadow on a little brush. Do not worry about the fall down that's occurred over here, because once I put on my under eye concealer, once I go over with my foundation, that drop down will be gone. I can even take a big fluffy empty brush or clean brush and just whoosh. I like to use the fan brushes that come in sets because there's really no other use for them, to use those to pick up excess makeup that's fallen on your face. Little tip. Okay. Well, now that you see the process of the smoky eye without the liner, I'm going to move over to another location where I can get a little closer to a mirror, and I'm going to show you how to use the liner to act as an additional smoking device. Okay? Right? Hold tight.